The invisible effect of your absence. Have you ever truly stopped to consider the real impact your absence can have on someone? I'm not talking about simply stepping back a little or not answering messages for a few days. I don't mean that kind of temporary, reversible distance that often seems fleeting or fixable. I'm talking about something far deeper, far more radical, the definitive absence. The absence that can't be filled with words, excuses, or promises of return. That absence, which, once chosen, marks a point of no return. A break that leaves no room for second chances. When you decide to leave, when you make the firm and conscious decision to walk away from a relationship that no longer nourishes you, a friendship that has stopped adding value, a bond that has become toxic or simply empty, something begins to change profoundly. And it doesn't only change in the other person's life, it changes in yours as well. This change is not small or silent. It doesn't go unnoticed or fade away easily. It's a transformation that cuts through superficial layers and reaches deep into your being and theirs. Your absence is not just an empty space or a passing silence. It's not just a hole in the routine or on the calendar. It's a powerful message, a signal that speaks without words, echoing through every corner of the relationship you've left behind. It's like an echo resonating in the mind and heart of the one left behind. A void that is felt but not always clearly explained. Not at first. They might not even notice you're gone. In fact, they might even feel relieved. Without your constant presence, without your demands or reminders, they experience a newfound freedom, a sort of momentary relief. They don't have to face the uncomfortable truths that hid beneath the false comfort of your constant closeness. They don't have to reveal their cracks, their fears, their shortcomings. Your departure is like a pause in the judgment they unconsciously allowed themselves to avoid. It's as if your disappearance lets them breathe that fresh air of impunity, that air you only feel when no one is there to remind you of your faults or demand real commitment. But that fresh air doesn't last forever. It's not eternal. Because the void you leave behind begins to grow, to spread, to occupy a space impossible to fill with anything else. Think carefully about this. How many times were you the one taking the initiative? Who was the first to write, to call, to be available when the other person couldn't? How many times did you carry the emotional weight of the relationship, handling difficult conversations, calming internal storms, taking on responsibilities that weren't yours alone? All of that was invisible to them, because when something is constant, when it repeats until exhaustion, it becomes a habit, something as natural and automatic as breathing. But now, when you're gone, they feel trapped in an airless void, in a room without oxygen. They try to breathe, but they can't. They try to fill that space you left, but they find a silence that can't be ignored. And that silence is no ordinary silence. It's not the comfortable silence that accompanies temporary peace. It's an uncomfortable, disturbing silence, one that forces them to look inward, to sit face to face with themselves and confront questions they once easily evaded. Questions that expose their regrets, that reveal their lack of insight, that unveil their inability to truly appreciate what they had when they had it. Questions that hit hard. Why didn't I see what I had in front of me? How could I have been so blind, not valuing what was real? What would have happened if I had acted differently, made another choice, fought harder for what I've now lost? That silence, that absence, is a cruel mirror reflecting their mistakes, leaving no place to hide or disguise their lack of commitment or true love. It's a mirror they can only face when you no longer have the patience to hold them up. But this message is not only for them, not just for those left behind. This script, this text, is also for you. It's for you to recognize that this silence, this absence you now hold with such firmness, is not a defeat or a void. It is your strength, your deepest power. It's the space you've created to find yourself, to listen to yourself without filters, to heal wounds you'd been ignoring for too long. Because in the constant noise of giving without receiving, of waiting without being valued, of justifying actions and attitudes you didn't deserve, you lost yourself. You forgot your own limits, your own needs, your dignity. Now, having decided to step away, putting yourself first, you found something that no one, absolutely no one, can ever take from you. Your freedom, the freedom to be, to think, to feel without invisible chains or ties. The freedom to live for yourself, your dreams, your growth. That freedom is the true gift born from your absence. Because while they face their own shadows in the void you left behind, you walk toward the light found only by letting go of what hurt you. The realization that comes too late at first, when you step away, when you decide to disappear from their life, they don't take it seriously. They refuse to accept that this time it's different, that this time the distance isn't temporary, or just a passing whim. They tell themselves, in a sort of almost necessary self-deception, that this is only a pause in the relationship, a break that will soon come to an end. He's probably just busy, won't answer now, but he'll be back soon. Maybe she's just angry or confused. She'll realize it and come back any moment. This is nothing, just a bad moment. He'll talk to me again soon. After all, you were always the constant in that emotional equation. You were the one who took the initiative, who wrote first, who called when they couldn't or didn't want to. You were the one who genuinely asked how they were, the shoulder to lean on when the world seemed to collapse. You were the steady anchor, the safe harbor, the unwavering presence holding the balance of the relationship. But this time, it's different. This time, the silence you leave behind is absolute, impenetrable. No goodnight messages, no small morning greetings, not even a simple "how are you?" that used to open the door to conversation. No signs, no promises, no hints that the connection, that conversation that was once routine, will be resumed. Days turn into weeks, weeks into months, and that silence, which at first seemed like a pause, becomes a deafening noise. It's a void, so tangible it hurts, an echo constantly ringing inside the chest. They start noticing your absence in the smallest and most mundane ways. No one to share a bad day with, no unexpected message to brighten a gray afternoon, no one to celebrate even the smallest victory. That space you used to fill without even realizing it now hurts like an open wound, a wound that bleeds with the feeling of loss and regret. They search their memory for moments they took for granted, shared laughter, deep conversations, sincere advice, nights when you were the unconditional company that calmed their fears and doubts. In an attempt to find an explanation, to make sense of what's happening, they begin to rationalize. Maybe it was my fault. I should have done more. Maybe I didn't appreciate enough. What did I do wrong to deserve this? But those questions, intense and painful as they are, don't bring easy or immediate answers. And certainly, they don't arrive in time to prevent the damage. Because while they're trapped in that endless cycle of regret and guilt, you're already somewhere else. A place they can't reach because they remain stuck in the past. That place where you are is a space of peace, growth, and clarity. It's a place where doubts don't eat you alive or paralyze you, where uncertainty isn't an enemy, but a driving force pushing you forward, where clarity lights every step you take, clarity that only comes when you decide to put your well-being and inner peace above everything else. While they relive memories and weigh their guilt, you move forward without looking back. You honestly recognize that you were the engine driving that relationship, the constant they took for granted and assumed was unmovable. They began to see you not as a person with needs, feelings, and limits, but as a fixed something, an unchanging presence, always there, always available for them. In that comfort they found, that security you provided unconditionally. They began to forget you. They forgot that true love is not an acquired right or a possession to claim. Love is a gift cultivated day by day with respect, commitment, and reciprocity. And when that gift disappears, when that steady presence is no longer there, it's because it ceased to be valuable to the one receiving it. This is the harsh truth that arrives too late for them, but just in time for you. Because now you know something they still don't understand. You don't have to beg for recognition. You don't have to plead for affection or love. Your worth is not negotiable nor diminished by another's indifference or lack of appreciation. In that certainty, in that full acceptance of your value, you find the strength necessary to move on, to rebuild yourself, to grow, and to open yourself to new possibilities that truly deserve you. So while they remain trapped in their late regret, you walk toward a future that belongs to you. A future where you are the priority, where your absence is no longer a void, but the strongest symbol of your freedom and personal power. The silence that brings you back to yourself, while they remain trapped in the storm of their own regret, caught in that chaotic whirlpool of doubts, reproaches, and nostalgia. You experience something very different, something far deeper, and soon more liberating. You take a deep breath with renewed awareness, feeling your chest expand with a calm you hadn't known in a long time, not even during the quietest moments of your past life. That calm, which feels like a balm, a kind of respite for the soul exhausted from giving without receiving. The silence they fear, the silence that turns their days into anxious waiting, becomes for you a safe refuge, a sanctuary where nothing external can disturb your inner peace. It is not an emptiness or a punishment, nor the painful absence they imagine. For you, that silence is a sacred space, both fertile and strong, where your true transformation begins, the rebirth of your most authentic essence. For a long time, your energy was invested in holding that relationship together, carrying emotional burdens that weren't even yours, nurturing and protecting a bond that seemed important only to you. You gave without measure, putting your strength at the service of another without asking for anything in return, thinking that sacrifice would guarantee the love or reciprocity you deserved. But that reality was an illusion. Silence, on the other hand, forces you to take a deep pause, to look inward without fear or evasion. It invites you to listen to yourself, to discover what lies beyond the constant need for approval or external acceptance. In that space free of distractions, demands, and outside expectations, you rediscover something essential, your pure, intact, indestructible essence. You discover the strength that lies in not needing anyone's validation to feel complete, in not depending on others' recognition to know who you are and your worth. That strength is a hidden gem inside you, beginning to shine with its own light amid the silence. You realize that your value doesn't depend on being seen, admired, or recognized by others, but on how you recognize and honor yourself. It is a profound reconnection with yourself, an awakening many fear because it demands responsibility, commitment, and above all, brutal honesty. Honesty to admit that in the past, you sometimes gave too much, that at times you got lost in the exhausting pursuit of being enough for others, neglecting your own needs and boundaries, thinking that's how you'd keep the bond alive. You acknowledge that sometimes you forgot something fundamental, that you deserve as much as you give, that your love and your time hold an incalculable value no one can diminish. But silence doesn't bring only deep, necessary revelations. It also brings peace, a peace that needs no words because it is felt in the soul, deep within your being. That peace is not built on absence or denial, but on authentic presence. Presence with yourself, full acceptance of who you are, without masks or pretenses. And that presence with yourself is, in itself, an act of radical love. It's a conscious and courageous commitment to your well-being, your personal growth, and the full, dignified life you deserve to live. It is the moment you decide to stop running from yourself, to stop sacrificing for those who never knew how, to value you and begin prioritizing what nourishes your soul and makes you grow. There is no turning back. There are no regrets worth holding on to when you choose to walk this path of self-discovery and self-affirmation. There is only one way forward, a path illuminated by the clarity that only silence and conscious solitude can offer. A path that, although sometimes lonely, is full of strength, dignity, and hope. Because in that silence, far from external noise and others' demands, you reconnect with the deepest truth of all. True freedom begins when you love and respect yourself unconditionally, and from that place, nothing and no one can ever take away your inner power again. When they try to come back after some time, that time that seemed endless yet fleeting at once, the space you left between you and them becomes undeniable, tangible, a presence that can no longer be ignored. Then, as if waking from a self-imposed stupor, they begin to reappear in your life. Not always directly or openly, but in those small details that seem insignificant, yet carry an intention you can't overlook. Maybe an unexpected message arrives in the early morning, a brief, ambiguous phrase that stirs a mix of surprise, doubt, and nostalgia in you. Or the phone rings, but you're unsure whether you want to answer, whether you want to open that door you closed with such effort. It could be a like on a post you thought forgotten, a subtle gesture heavy with meaning, a timid attempt to re-enter your world. They try to come back. They return seeking to recover what they lost. The space you occupied in their life now felt as empty. However, they don't always come from a place of sincerity or genuine change. Often, what drives them is not true growth, but fear of loneliness, guilt they don't know how to handle, or discomfort facing their own mistakes and responsibilities. They want to resume the bond without being willing to commit to growth, improvement, or change. They want to regain what was lost while keeping old patterns intact, without doing the inner work, the relationship, the connection, truly required to thrive. And it is in this very moment, when the person who was once the center of everything tries to return without the tools needed to build something new, that the hardest test unfolds before you, the final test that can mark the course of your life. Because now you hold the power. You have the capacity and the freedom to choose. Will you fall again into the trap of false promises, empty words that always sound the same but never translate into actions? Or will you stand firm with the courage to protect that inner space you fought so hard to build, to reclaim with so much effort and sacrifice? Saying no in this circumstance is not an act of selfishness or indifference. It is not closing a door to hurt, but opening space for self-respect. It is an act of genuine courage, a commitment to honor your value and inner peace. Saying no means acknowledging that you deserve more than hollow words and broken promises. You deserve real, consistent, and committed actions, because your time and energy are not to be wasted on illusions or emotional games. When you choose to keep your distance, when you decide not to respond to those timid attempts to come back, you send a clear and powerful message. A message that may be hard for them to hear, but is essential for you. I will no longer be the option when I was not valued. I will not allow my peace and growth to be sacrificed for others' insecurities or comforts. This decision not only frees you from invisible chains, but also confronts them with a truth they may not have been ready to face. The truth that you are no longer a resource to turn to when it suits them. The truth that you have learned to love and respect yourself, and that this transformation leaves them outside your life. Because when you no longer seek their approval, when you no longer respond to their attempts at manipulation or return, they begin to feel the real weight of their loss. A loss you cannot return or fix, because now it is their responsibility to face the consequences of their choices. but that loss is theirs alone. You, on the other hand, have chosen to move forward. You have chosen to honor your growth process, your path of healing and self-affirmation. You have chosen not to sacrifice your well-being anymore in the name of a relationship that never valued you as you deserve. And that choice, more than any word, gesture, or message, defines your power. A power born from authenticity, clarity, and inner strength only gained when you learn to say no without fear, without guilt, and with the conviction that you are protecting yourself to become the best version of yourself. Because in that firm decision, in that act of self-love, there you truly reside, invincible, free, and master of your own destiny. Your peace, your power, the peace you feel today, didn't arrive overnight. It's not a casual gift, nor a fleeting state that comes and goes without leaving a mark. This peace that now dwells within you is the mature fruit of a conscious, courageous, and profound decision. A decision that, although it may have seemed difficult or even painful at the time, now reveals itself as the wisest and most liberating choice you've ever made. The decision to walk away from what was harming you. 2. Cut ties with what drained your energy and eroded your spirit. To release the invisible chains that bound you to expectations that were never met, to relationships that demanded more than they were willing to give. To say enough without fear, without guilt or remorse, and to put your well-being above all else. This peace is the rebirth many fear. Because rebirth means letting go of old wounds, facing ghosts from the past, abandoning what no longer serves or nourishes you. Rebirth means looking forward without fear, with the courage of someone who knows the future is unwritten, but can be built with every conscious step. Rebirth means accepting that you deserve a love that is neither negotiated nor begged for. A love that is simply given and received in balance, without conditions or disproportionate sacrifices. You deserve a love that lifts you up, not tears you down. A love that respects your freedom and honors your essence. By choosing your peace, you also choose your power. The power to be the absolute owner of your story, to refuse to let anyone else write chapters in your life without your consent. The power to build a future where self-love is the unshakable foundation supporting every one of your days. You don't need anyone else to validate your worth, because you have already validated it yourself. You have learned that your strength doesn't depend on others' gaze or approval, but on the authentic, deep relationship you maintain with yourself. A relationship built on honesty, compassion, and respect. This is your greatest triumph. A silent victory, perhaps invisible to those who don't want to understand, but unstoppable and definitive. A clear message to the world, and above all, to yourself. Here I am. I am enough. My peace is inviolable. So whenever you feel the temptation to look back, to fall into the trap of the past, remember this with strength. The past was a lesson. The present is your power. And the future is a blank canvas, an open space where you are the artist, painting with your decisions, your actions, and your will. With every firm step you take, with every brave choice you make, you are painting a life that honors your worth, celebrates your growth, and respects your essence. I invite you now to write in the comments of this video the phrase, "I choose my peace and my power." Let those words be your shield against doubt, your banner raised proudly in every internal battle. Let them remind you that your story is just beginning, and the best version of yourself awaits right ahead, stronger, wiser, freer. Come this far because you know deep within your being that you deserve better. Because you understand your worth doesn't depend on anyone else, and your peace is a sacred treasure you must protect with strength and love. Always remember that silence and absence, far from being emptiness, are powerful tools for transformation and growth. In them, you can find the strength to rebuild, rediscover yourself, and move forward toward the life you always deserved. Never forget that you are the undisputed protagonist of your story, and every decision you make, no matter how small, is a firm step toward that full, authentic life you are called to live. If this message resonated with you, I invite you to share it with someone who also needs to remember their strength and worth. Subscribe to Stoic Alchemist to keep growing together on this path of self-discovery and resilience. And don't forget to activate the notification bell so you won't miss any of our content, designed to help you build your best version. Leave me a comment with your favorite phrase from the video, or simply say, "I choose my peace," to connect with this community of warriors who, like you, are determined to move forward without looking back. Thank you for joining us on this journey. Always remember, your peace is your power, and your power lies within you. Until next time, stay strong, stay stoic,